RLCraft, the hardest mod pack in all of Minecraft. What a joy. In this mod pack, the world is full of dragons, ghosts and ghouls and everything spooky scary that can and will take your life. The world is a truly dangerous landscape, littered with dungeons, battle towers and so many more truly challenging feats to tackle. In this series, I'll be attempting to survive 100 days in RLCraft. Day 31. I found a cool little wizard's tower next to the mob tower I defeated the day prior. This place was a humble abode, but it had a roof made of lapis blocks, which are of particular value for me to gather. I also followed a rail down into an abandoned mineshaft underground. This place was perfect to gather a ton of ores. In the forest, I found an abandoned nether portal, encrusted with moss-covered stone around it. I broke down the stone cover to it and used the portal to get myself some obsidian to reconstruct it elsewhere. It seemed this portal had been covered, perhaps to stop the nether leaking out into the overworld. Day 32. On day 32, I was coasting the oceans on my bird and heard a sweet song, but the closer I came towards it, the more I lost control. It was pulling me below the water, and then it began to litter my vision blood pink and pull me directly towards a rock. These harlots were not as beautiful as their voice. Their eyes turned red and they turned murderously ferocious. Remember, beauty is sometimes on the inside. Anyways, I didn't feel so bad for killing them because of this. I flew up to a keep upon the water nearby. Surely the owners had been victims to the same mermaids that tried to poach me. Well, without an owner, it was my castle now, so I stole all their crops obviously. They also had some valuables like spears and other materials inside the castle. I broke all their bookshelves in their library. Across the seas was a skull and crossbones. Had I found the pirate ship of Blackbeard himself? This ghost ship drifted on the water. It seemed Blackbeard had finally succumbed to zombies, or maybe his crew were undead like the Black Pearls from Pirates of the Caribbean, because this boat was full of monsters. This ship had no wheel to steer it either. Strange. I dispatched of all remaining monsters and decided to dip on out there as water leaked into the ship's hull. A captain goes down with his ship, but technically I'm not the captain. Underwater was a gigantic sea serpent. This thing was doing backflips and barrel rolls and just generally diving out of the ocean. I definitely had to be careful of this guy. I don't think I was yet equipped to deal with that kind of acrobatics. Day 33. On the water, I also found this strange pirate town where it had end portal frames, strange little traders huts full of loot and beds and chests. I found some pretty cool items and trinkets in some of them. One of these items was the broken heart that offered heart containers filled by sleeping that would serve as extra damage absorption. I equipped this thing, but sadly I got bitten by the serpent in midair when I wasn't paying attention. Another one bites the dust. After dealing with another battle tower, I returned back to my base. I set down an enchantment table and some bookshelves that I got from the pirate town and made myself an enchanting library area in my base to make my tools and weapons more powerful, first testing it out and enchanting my sword. I also equipped some rings and a tool belt on my trinket belt to improve my character's power. I put a backpack on the ground too for some extra storage. Day 34. I crafted some golden potion rings, which I then paired with some of my other materials in order to craft some specialized rings of resistance. It was this stage of my journey I was focused on acquiring powerful and useful items to make myself stronger. I now was becoming stronger day by day. I next crafted an item called the Poison Stone, a graceful item that would give me bonuses not only to my dig speed, but also my attack speed, making me swifter in both combat and taskmanship. Day 35. I invaded another distant mining camp. They had a few ores here, but more specifically some valuable blocks, like a full gold block kept behind some bars. Those guys really kept their most valuable possession locked up like Fort Knox. It's only gold anyway, sheesh. In fact, this particular camp wasn't even abandoned. Dr. Trearis over there apparently was living here. Shout out Diamond Minecart by the way. At night time I was yet attacked leading into the early morning. It was becoming obvious my neighbours didn't like me at this point. More tree men, but this time they also brought a dinosaur and some other amigos with them. I'm starting to think having Ned Flanders as my neighbour would pretty much be better. Day 36. The blood moon from the previous night lasted many hours stretching into the morning. It plagued my mind, negating any ability to even sleep. I had to just put up a fight and survive. I returned to a mansion that I'd found the previous night on the water. This mansion was shrouded by vines covering its doorways and halls. This wooded house had been strangled by Mother Nature and forgotten. It was truly enthralling to explore from top to bottom, but in here Here I found a brewing stand and some other useful hardware in its roof floor. Can we stop to mention how groovy this place looks with its pink carpet, by the way? I found another gigantic villager manor. This one was guarded by an iron golem and had a similar number of inhabitants and traders to the one that I found some days prior. In similar fashion, I stole their jukebox and note blocks and any records that they had. I'm the reason we can't have nice things. Why villagers can't have nice things. These guys were a little richer, so it was nice to swindle them for everything they had. Remember, the rich get richer. Day 37. For some reason their iron golem murdered my bird for no apparent reason. Why? Now I don't feel so bad about robbing them in pure daylight, especially if they're going to do this. I found another battle tower, but this was like no other. In fact, it was buried deep underground, with most of its floors being damaged and littered with holes. This made them particularly dangerous as the predominant enemy was either a poison spider or a skeleton, so I could be sniped through the holes and spiders could drop on top of me through them above. It's safe to say this one was the hard one. One of the rooms that I fell into was bundled with so many zombies. It was almost impossible to actually break the spawners because I just kept getting hit. Luckily zombies are dumb, so I just baited them outside into my ice elementals and wasted them whilst they burnt in the daylight. But with the open holes in the wall and it turning nighttime, they would freely pour out of the tower to fight me. Without sunlight aiding me, I had no choice but to remake entry and try to eliminate as many as I possibly could. Day 38. On the next day I made some more progress. My bird also swooped down to help me a little to kill some of the enemies. The great thing about the rock is that it can actually pick up annoying enemies like spiders, making it a little less difficult. Having like 20 poison spiders gang you at once isn't exactly the most fun thing to do on a Friday night, I have to say. Sometime later I actually found a real village too, fully populated, and they'd done all the work for me and left me all their crops for free for the taking. At least that was my convenient excuse for stealing this time. Day 39. I flew right up to the top of the battle tower's spire. This time I was on my rock. I found a convenient new strategy of cheesing the boss fight. Instead of blocking the Cyclops behind a wall or knocking him down a floor, I just swooped around him in circles where his fireballs weren't fast enough to actually hit me. And then from there I just slowly sniped him with arrows. It didn't matter how much of a tantrum he threw, it was no use. This was the easiest way, plus it meant all the top floor loot was a lot easier to gather before it started to crumble. Unfortunately most of the top tier items were lost in the subsequent blast, but I managed to pick a few of them up while I was on my mount, prioritizing the diamonds mainly. Later in the day I stumbled upon a full skeleton in the woods. I landed and farmed it. This many bone blocks would be specifically useful for making bone meal or getting bones for taming, but yet another blood moon was rising, so I had to make haste. It was at this time of night that I also found an absolutely enormous city on the water, fully fleshed out with pirate ships and a dock. I couldn't see under the blanket of the red night, however. At home I enchanted some of my diamond armor, particularly the leggings, and set away some new items for later. Day 40. The morning of the next day was spent just surviving the blood moon. I was lucky this wasn't hardcore. This is hardcore enough. If these zombies could break in my house, I would have been out of luck. Some of them could probably break the record for the 100-meter sprint because they were moving faster than Usain Bolt. I spent most of the daytime portion of this day crafting items, mostly the prerequisites for the Dragon's Eye artifact I was looking to obtain. This item would grant toggleable night vision, fire resistance, and X-ray for some materials and chests. It was great for loot and actually fighting dragons. Basically, I had almost all things for this apart from a skull of a dragon. Convenient. This could have been the Ender Dragon or any other dragon in the world. All the more reason to become a dragon slayer. My main goal was yet again returning to focus. Day 41. I took off once again to the skies, being headstrong enough to challenge the nameless ice dragon to another showdown. I couldn't let him cause terror above my home for much longer. Once more, I was struck by another ball of frost, being lucky enough this time to land upon a tree to make an escape. But not cutting my losses, I decided it fit to climb the mountain and try it out close quarters. My mistake. Being struck by the dragon this time at point blank range, and once more falling in battle. Today was not yet the day.